What truly separates average quarterback from like a really good or a great quarterback?
To make sure they understand they have to own their own throwing mechanics and own their process to be consistent and be successful.
Even more of it is the mental side, and obviously watching film's a big part of that. So mentally you're ready, you understand what you're doing this week.
You know, anybody can go to a park or a field and set up cones and say, hey, I saw this drill on TikTok, let's do this drill because it looks like it's going to work.
I guess I'll just start out by saying, you know, anybody that's I've either talked to about Isaac and kind of his football journey, or who's obviously watched our podcast, has heard me mention your name. I mean, I've talked about you quite a bit. Think Isaac started working with you about 5 years ago, right? In the seventh grade?
Yeah, it's crazy it's been that long. But
yeah. And, you know, what I'll say is, you know, whether it's in sports and life, you know, it's important to surround yourself with the right people, right? And you have been, I mean, such a big part of Isaac's journey. And honestly, I mean, he owes a ton of his development just obviously to you and how much you've helped him both with mechanics and the physical side, but then also the mental side. And so, you know, again, what I'll say is whether it's in life, business, coaching on the sidelines, people you work with, you've got to surround yourself with the right people. And
absolutely,
you know, I know we've talked about having you on for a while, but I'm glad we finally got to sit down.
I'm glad to be here, man.
Yeah, this is Travis Wright for those that don't know. So let's kind of dive in a little bit to the background. Again, 5 years ago, Isaac started working with you. He was in the seventh grade and kind of got thrown into a position of being a quarterback where he had never been one before.
Yeah.
Was always a tight end and kind of D end up till that point.
An athlete.
And they needed a quarterback. So I forget who first put us in touch. Somebody gave me Snyder's number over at Trinity, and then he was like, you got to call Travis. And so at that time,
shout out to Coach Snyder.
Absolutely, but we were talking to, obviously there's other quarterback coaches in town, and you know, the thing that stuck with me about you, well, number one, we clicked, you know, just kind of your approach to everything, and you know, the way you worked with Isaac was different than some of the other people we had started to train with, and it was like, you know, if you're going to be a quarterback, this is the guy we need to be with. And you know, in my opinion, the proof's in the pudding. I mean, he's you know, out there working every day and getting better, and like I said, a lot of that's thanks to you. So
I'm very appreciative of the kind words, man.
I appreciate that. So you You obviously train. You also coach. So you're currently you're quarterback coach at North and Mercy.
Yeah.
So double duty.
Double duty, man. Like my whole life's football.
Yeah.
My girlfriend Caitlin is like, she's so supportive of my career and my lifestyle. But sometimes she's like, during football season, she's like, can we not do football for a day?
Yep.
It's just constantly like football on Saturdays, football on Sundays, watching it on TV, and yeah, my life's just consumed with football, but honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yep.
So,
and obviously, for those that don't know, you played at Trinity, 3-time state champion, right?
Yes. Yeah.
3-time state champion. That's pretty wild. You started all 3 years, right? Sophomore, junior, senior year?
Yeah, so started as a sophomore.
Which is not common.
Not common, and like, they got a guy there now named Zane Johnson, who I'm sure most people are aware of, but he started as a freshman. But, outside of that guy, there's not been a ton of people to start that young at Trinity. But, yeah, started as a sophomore, 3-year starter. Yes, fortunate enough to be a part of some very good state championship teams with just loaded with talent in every class on those teams. And
number one in 2011, right?
So yeah, number one on Max Prep. Yeah, Max Preps ranked us number one, and we were national champions. I use air quotes because we never got to play the game, but we were supposed to play Don Bosco at the Yankee Stadium that year. It just never really solidified, but we were looking forward to that. So, but yeah, man. Good playing career at Trinity. I mean, I was fortunate to have some great coaches that had big influences on me over the years there. So, I owe a lot of what I do now to my coaches when I was a player. So,
for sure. Yeah. Obviously, you had some pretty good stats over that time. Correct me if this is wrong, but what I found is over 9,300 yards, 112 touchdowns, and then 3 state title games you threw for 716 and 10 touchdowns.
It's
freaking impressive, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
And then you ended up going to FIU, correct?
Florida International, that's correct.
Yep.
Full ride scholarship.
That's pretty impressive. So obviously the dude knows what he's talking about. So yeah, I mean, obviously I wanted to have you on to just talk, right? Obviously you've been instrumental in Isaac's development, and I think there's other people that need to know about you, right?
Yeah.
And to consider, what you can do for their athlete. But, again, whether you're a parent, a coach, an athlete, I think you can take a lot away from this and kind of the talks we have had and your philosophy. And again, one of the things that really stood out to me was, just how you work with Isaac, and, some of the other trainers we were with or were talking to, we're very old school, the old school mentality. You've got to be, straight over the top. You have to look exactly like that old school prototypical quarterback. And, kind of what I've come to find, and obviously what you've taught us is, quarterbacks have to throw from all different kind of arm angles. And you have to be comfortable, being able to do that in a game and in the flow of a game. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a time to come straight over the top and be able to get it over a line, but also you've got to be able to throw from different arm angles. And the thing you've always worked on with Isaac, and you've always reiterated, is get to full extension, right? Get to full extension, and that's how you're, you stay mechanically sound and fundamentally good. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, man. I mean, I just think, I played baseball. I played pitcher, center field, third base, played quarterback my whole life. There were definitely times I was a linear thrower. And, there's times you need to be a rotational thrower too. Certainly coming up as a young quarterback, I was always taught linear, meaning very over the top. Any type of side angle at all was like, that's like a cardinal sin in the quarterback world. So, as the games evolved, you just look at like college and NFL in today's world, there's so many different tough angles quarterbacks are throwing on RPOs or bubble screens, quick screens, things where you might not be able to throw straight over top of a defender. And you have to just kind of get it out. Now, I'm not sitting here saying I teach kids to throw sidearm, but, like in Isaac's case, he's a very natural 3/4 arm slot thrower. I didn't want to mess with that. And I'm a big believer in meeting kids where they're at and building off of what they're already really good at naturally, right? So I'm not going to take some guy like Isaac that throws from a 3/4 and freaking zips the ball and try and make him start throwing linear all the time.
Yeah.
He's not Peyton Manning,
right.
And like, no diss to Peyton Manning. He's one of the GOATs, but you watch Peyton Manning throw, he didn't throw a ton of spirals. He was very over at the top, still won some Super Bowls, still going to be in the Hall of Fame. So, I mean, it's not one of those things where it's like one cookie cutter answer and everybody has to do it the same way.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yep. Yeah. So, I mean, and really on that, talking about fundamentals, we can just kind of go into that. I mean, why do you emphasize fundamentals so much? Talk to me a little bit about your approach and that.
Well, I mean, I emphasize fundamentals because you need a good, solid foundation to be a consistent thrower from, and again, using Isaac as a perfect example. When Isaac came to me, I mean, we had a lot to work on because he was, because he's that natural 3/4 thrower, sometimes he would drop his elbow to sidearm. If we're consistently throwing sidearm, that's not going to be a good, repeatable motion to, throw completions and move the football down the field, get points on the board. So to me, it's really, you have to take a kid's natural abilities and assess them and say, okay, this is what he does really well. These are the few things that are non-negotiables that we have to clean up right now so that on Friday night or Saturday in college, he can have a more repeatable, consistent motion. So I'm really big on fundamentals, not because I'm trying to make kids throw just like Travis Wright or just like their favorite quarterback on TV. It's to make sure they understand they have to own their own throwing mechanics and own their process to be consistent and be successful on the football field.
It's about the repeatability. It's about to be able to consistently do it over and over and over and know when the pressure's on, you're going to be able to deliver that strike exactly where you need it, on time, on target.
Yeah, and and I tell guys this all the time. Anybody can come out to a session of mine and be in a T-shirt and you're throwing on air and you look great. The second you got bullets flying and it's 11 on 11, full pads, all these D linemen are trying to rip your head off every play. Let's see how well your mechanics and your repeatable motion looks then. So, I'm very big on just making sure they have a good repeatable foundation so when they get in a game scenario and the lights are on, the pressure's on, they have a routine to fall back on. A thing that I like to use for reference with kids all the time. I train a lot of multi-sport athletes, a lot that play basketball. I use their free throw routine. You know, I'm like, hey, when you go up to the line, do you just sometimes dribble through your legs twice and close your eyes, kiss the ball and shoot it? Other times you dribble twice and shoot it? No, like you have a set routine so that it's repeatable, and you've done this hundreds of times, right? It's nothing new to you. So throwing mechanics, throwing motion, same thing as a free throw routine to me.
Yeah. So there you go, Isaac. You got it from me, buddy.
Yeah,
that's
right.
free throw routine.
Yeah. But, you know, Isaac, man, such a good athlete, dude. Like, I know he gave up basketball, but I'm like, dude, I know he'd still be so good if he kept playing that.
Yeah, he can still hoop, man. Like, I still have, I mean, anymore, I can't handle him. Like, he's too athletic. He's too athletic. He's too strong. Like, it's over. What you said earlier reminds me of a conversation we were having the other night talking about, you know, the repeatability and being able to handle adversity and the pressure. So my youngest, Brady, is a freshman at Trinity this year. He's a lineman. And we were talking to him about practice and like, hey, man, how's it going? And I guess he's offensive line, right tackle, doing pretty well. And I think he was having a good day the other day. And so they moved one of the other D linemen right in front of him to give him a rougher look. And he thinks he does everything great. So he was like, oh yeah, I crushed it. It was awesome.
It's that freshman delusion.
A little bit, yeah. And so, you know, we were talking to him about that, and, you know, he's like, well, you know, I got this big guy in front of me. I got to lock in. He's coming at me with everything. He's like, you don't have to deal with that, Isaac. He's like, yeah, they're all coming after me, dude. He's like, what are you talking about?
They're all running through you to get to me.
Yeah. He's like, you got one. I got to deal with all of them.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
I'm glad he's got confidence, man. Like, You'd rather a football player, for all the parents out there, you'd rather your son have a little chip on their shoulder than be timid. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
And, you know, that kind of naturally segues us into this. But like with Isaac, he's so capable. He has so many skills and abilities. And I feel like that's been a big thing, big recurring theme for us over his 5-year development with me is being more confident, having that chip on his shoulder, because he's earned that, man.
Yeah.
And like, you know, every time we go throw with other quarterbacks or – you know, you're giving me feedback from what coaches tell them at camps. It's like, man, who is this kid?
Yeah.
You know, and just that confidence piece is so important. You got to have a little chip on your shoulder, especially playing the quarterback position if you want to be effective and a good leader. So,
yeah. And I mean, again, that's something that you've obviously really helped him with. And some of it comes from, you know, the physical preparation, the on-field stuff, making all the throws, going through everything. But even more of it is the mental side, and obviously watching film's a big part of that. So mentally you're ready, you understand what you're doing this week, or you know, reviewing film, what you did right, what you did wrong. But also just, you know, you've been such a help in talking him through the confidence piece. And again, you've earned it, man. Like, you've put in the time, you know what you're doing. Like, never have those doubts. You were the best player on the field when you're out there every time. And so that's again something, the mental side is something that you've really, really helped him with. And
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I mean, you know, my youngest has always been like like over the top confident. And Isaac, you know, that's one of the areas where he can improve. You know, sometimes he's a perfectionist and it's never good enough at times. And
well, hey, I'll tell you now, man, any quarterback who is as serious about playing the position, they're a perfectionist.
Yeah.
Myself included. That's why I relate to kids like Isaac and can see that before they even see it in themselves. Because I've been in their shoes. Hey, I'm still a perfectionist now, man. Like, you know me. Like, I'm very detail-oriented about everything, and I feel like if one little detail's off, it throws my whole little routine off. But, you know, like being able to see that, because I've been in those kids' shoes before, is I think a big strength of mine as a private coach is being able to say, hey, man, I've been where you're at. I know what it feels like. I know how it feels like to be a perfectionist as a quarterback. Why don't you take a little pressure off yourself?
Yeah.
Right? So,
yeah. So kind of going in a little more depth there, what do you think? Because I mean, obviously putting in the time is important, but what truly separates, you know, an average quarterback from like a really good or a great quarterback?
It's a great question, man. Intentionality. Like, I preach that all the time to the kids I coach. It's like, man, what are you being intentional about? Not only in your throwing mechanics, but in your preparation, doing the film study, studying your playbook. When you're at practice, are you being consistent, asking coaches questions to get clarity on things that you might not be clear on yet? Do you know your progressions in all your pass plays, right? So just, I think like being intentional about your own development and understanding that while you need confidence in yourself, you have to be able to take a step outside yourself and look at yourself from the lens of another coach and say, okay, what would I need to still improve on? What can I look at my game on film and say, I was late here to this throw. I need to work on this drop back more. Or, I'm dropping my arm down here on this certain throw. I need to try and fix that through repetition and practice. So being intentional about everything you do. And I know it sounds cliche, but like putting in the time. I think a lot of kids in today's world think, I'm going to go out and practice quarterback for a week and I can call myself a quarterback.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, that's a great start. I love the ambition, but it takes so much more dedication and focus than ever before because there's so many distractions out there for them.
Yeah.
So it's like, like when I'm at North Oldham, something I do on huddle all the time is I'm checking my quarterback group's huddle time.
Yeah.
And my senior, Brody Pfeiffer, I hold him to the same standard that I hold the freshmen to that are brand new with us. It's like I give them a set time. I tell them I want them to do 1 hour of film study a week on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like sitting here thinking like, man, an hour a day? I'm like, no, you get 7 days.
Yeah.
Give me 10 minutes a day. You're good. And it's like building that consistent routine, So I think, being intentional about your development on all sides of the game and never feeling like you're truly satisfied with where you're at.
Man, there's so much there. So I think kids especially have a hard time understanding just how fast it goes by. How in the blink of an eye, it's over. And then you're either, playing college, trying to play college, or you're going to college and thinking about getting a job. So like it's such a short window where you actually have the time to focus and develop and get better. And there's no time to waste. I mean, there is literally no time to waste.
It's like one of those funny things because sometimes it's like you think about a year or 2 year window and you think, man, it's a long time from now.
No.
But then like a year goes by and you're like, that went by fast. So it's like you gotta make the most of every little moment. And, I'm at practice last night and I said in front of a couple quarterbacks, I said, man, one of the coaches said, it goes by like that, guys.
Yeah.
Like, cherish every moment you have out here if you're a senior especially. And I told the quarterbacks after that, I was like, man, I'd do anything to be in your guys' shoes and come play one more time. And my senior quarterback, Brody Pfeiffer, said, that's the most unk statement I've ever heard in my life. I said,
Come on, Brody.
Man, don't throw the
Come on,
shade
man.
at me, dude. But, it's true, man. Like, I go out there and I'm at practice and whether it's private sessions or at a team practice, man, it's like, it just gives me the butterflies still to be around the game. And that's truly why I do what I do, is to be involved with the game and give back to it. And just, man, like, to go back and just put on the pads one more time.
One more time. They'll learn. They'll know one day, but, you just got to have that. You got to get through it and then, have that experience until kids just don't get it. That's something you can't really it's so hard to get them to understand that.
Well, and, like to that point, summer workouts aren't easy.
No.
Sometimes they're boring.
Yeah.
You're doing the same stuff every day, conditioning.
Yep.
We're having 3-hour practices some nights. So, I mean, we're really grinding it out this summer at North Oldham. And, do they enjoy that now? Maybe not. But I promise you, when they're done and they're in their 30s looking back, they're going to be like, I miss even those days.
Oh, for sure.
I miss those too. So,
well, and, the quarterback position, and again, I didn't play football growing up. I was a baseball and basketball guy. It is, from what I've gathered just watching Isaac, it is the hardest position in sports. I mean, there is so much you have to understand and know and deal with in a split second on a football field that it's just the mentally being able to process all that is unlike anything else. I mean, it's such a tough position.
Well, and we're sitting here talking about how, like confidence is a big factor, but you hear somebody list out all those things and you think to yourself, now I see why kids do put pressure on themselves.
Right.
And our perfectionists as quarterbacks, there's so much that goes into that. And every time you think you make a good play, here comes your offensive coordinator, head coach, your quarterback coach saying you did this, this, and this wrong. Hey, great touchdown, but you threw it 2 seconds late. Don't do it again, So always something to improve. That's the whole MO of a quarterback. If you look at any quarterback in a college, like major college program, or especially the NFL, they are never ever satisfied with where they're at. There's always something to improve on.
Yep.
So you have to be okay with that. You have to be comfortable with that. And I truly think the sooner kids accept that fact about playing the position, it's like a big weight off their shoulders. Like, man, this is going to be here my whole career.
Yep.
This is just what it means to be a QB.
The other thing too is the communication piece. And I mean, this really goes for any great athlete. You have to, I feel, to be a great athlete, a great leader, you have to be a great communicator. But I mean, that's demanded of the quarterback position. It's not an option. Like, if you're going to be a great quarterback, you have to be a great communicator, not only with your teammates, but also your coaches. And And not all coaches, are always approachable or easy to talk to, but especially at that position, if you see something out there, or even in practice, if there's a disagreement, you've got to be able to pull your coach to the side and have a conversation with them about it, and have the confidence in yourself to, state your feelings and then talk it through. And that doesn't mean you're always going to be right, but maybe that helps you get on the same page. So, and again, that's something with Isaac you've really helped him with, is just that confidence to be able to. And he doesn't always do it. Like, we had a conversation last night about some struggles he's had recently, and like, hey, like, you want to be a quarterback and a great communicator, you have to go talk to your coach. You don't have to make a big deal about it in like a team meeting or something, but pull him to the side and be like, hey, coach, here's, I hear you here, but this is what I'm seeing. What do you think? And it all goes back to communication.
Yeah. And to that point, like, that's something in my private training sessions that I overemphasize to kids. Like, even on day one, I'm like, look, man, I'm here to help you. I'm a resource for you. We need to have this open dialogue and discourse going between us. And, you take a kid like Isaac that's been with me like 5 years now. You should hear the conversation. You've heard it, but people at home, you should hear the conversations we're having with high school or college quarterbacks that have been with me for 5 or 6 years. I mean, the dialogue we're having, it's so educational and constructive that every hour they're spending out there, I mean, we're leaving feeling like we just had like a mass training, mental training session out there. And as much as we're working on the physical, we're developing the mental side of it too.
Yeah. So, obviously all this translates, right? Like, it translates to life, it translates to business, like all of that. But specifically from the quarterback position, what are the things you notice almost immediately when you're evaluating? Like, you have a kid come to you, he wants to train. What are the things that stand out to you most?
Nothing physical.
Yeah.
When a kid first comes to me, I understand, I've done this long enough, they're all going to be needing improvement somewhere.
Yep.
So when they first get there, the first thing I'm watching the first 10 minutes is like, what's their attitude like? What's their body language like? If they make a bad throw, are they hanging their head, kicking their feet in the dirt, cussing themselves out? Like, I'm evaluating a lot of the mental and emotional stuff that most parents, when they drop their kids off at a session with me, they think they're just going to be learning about throwing. Little do they know, I'm sitting here assessing their athlete from like a holistic view of like their emotions, their mentality, their physicality, all those things. Now, obviously, I'm assessing their throwing mechanics too, but you get my point. Like, that's going to come no matter what. We're going to fix those things.
They got to have the right headspace. They have to be in the right mental state to develop and be able to progress.
Like, I've never really fired a client.
Yeah.
But, I've had a couple clients show up, and then, the parents are like, lay it on me. How do you do? And it's, it's a rough conversation, because it's a harsh conversation. Yeah. Tell them, look, he actually has the skill to play the position physically. He's got to work on these mental points, or it's going to be a struggle for him. And, I feel like a lot of people think of quarterback training as, let's just go to the park or the field and throw for an hour and get some receivers. And yes, it's a big part of it. But they're learning how to conduct themselves as a quarterback with me at my training. So, again, if a kid's got a crap attitude, or he's just, he's having a bad day, and he's treating his receivers poorly and taking it out on other people, it's like, I don't yell at kids. I don't cuss at kids. I'd never do that. I'm just like, hey, man, we're all in a fine mood. Like, you need to turn yourself around, because if you want to play quarterback on a Friday or Saturday, you have to have emotional regulation.
Yeah.
A lot of the kids that might see this after we put this out, they'll probably hear me say that and go, I've heard coach say that before.
Yeah.
It's like, emotional regulation is like the most overlooked skill for a quarterback to have.
So, I mean, again, talk about translating. It's the same thing in my business in real estate, right? Like, when we tell our agents this all the time, and you have to know that for your own clients, but also with the other people you're dealing with, because your clients take on your personality. You know what I mean? It's the same thing in football. You know, if you are nervous and you aren't confident, or you're angry and you're yelling, I mean, that's not a good environment for winning. And it's the same thing in business. It's the same thing on the field.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to war with your teammates on the football field.
Yep.
Now, youth league, it might not feel that way for the little mighty mites and peewee players. But when your kids become of age and they're, playing at a place like Trinity High School, I mean, that's a prestigious program. They're not playing slouches. Their schedule's packed all year long.
Brutal, especially this year. Oh my God.
And then not to mention, if they make it through the playoff run and state championship, they're dealing with a lot of adversity.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're going to war with 10 other teammates, you're the only guys you have out on that field. Your coaches have your back when you come off to the sideline, but when you're in between those lines, it's you versus them. Yep. And you have to operate as a unit. And part of that, being a quarterback and being a leader, is setting the tone in the huddle. If you're a no huddle team, it's setting the tone in between plays. Hey,
on the sideline.
Sure, just like communicating and making sure you're all on the same page and understanding that it's us versus them on the field, and you have to be a strong unit. And that really does start through the quarterback from an offensive perspective. You have to have a good leader. He has to be emotionally regulated. He has to be calm, cool, and collected. And, any good team, like you look at Indiana last year, Fernando Mendoza, that guy was such a superb leader. I mean, you could just tell the effect he had on his teammates.
Yep.
Every time that offense touched the field, it was like they could do no wrong. Even in moments where they were struggling in games, and maybe like the Penn State game when they were about to lose at Penn State and somehow they pull out the miraculous play. You don't do that if all 11 guys don't believe that they can do the job together, right?
Yep, absolutely. So that's actually a pretty good transition into kind of one of the other things we want to talk about, mistakes that quarterbacks and parents make. So, from your perspective, what's the biggest mistakes young quarterbacks are making today?
Probably giving too much credit to just doing a couple things here and there. Mm-hmm. Like I mentioned earlier, you don't just go practice something for a week at anything in life and now you're a master.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is putting their eggs in too many different baskets. Like, there's obviously other quarterback coaches in town. I'm not the only one. There's others in the region. They're all over the country. The biggest mistake I see parents making is they're hiring 3 or 4 different coaches and they're rotating them. And while exposure to different coaching philosophies can be beneficial for a kid, there comes to a point where you have to draw the line and say, we like this philosophy, we're going to stick with this one. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, imagine little Johnny's coming home and saying, well, Coach Travis told me to do this with my 3-step drop, but Coach so-and-so over here told me to do it this way, and then the other coach says not to do it at all.
Yep.
What is that sending to the kid? It's nothing but confusion, right? And ultimately, they're not, while you think, hey, my son's competing with another 7th grader for the QB position on the team. So that kid only trains with Coach Travis. So I'm going to send my son to Coach Travis, Coach blah, 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 and Coach so-and-so and have 3 different trainers. Mm-hmm. On paper, that sounds like a good idea, but
doesn't always work that way.
No, one philosophy is the way to go. I tell parents all the time, hey, if you find somebody that your son clicks with better, or you all like doing business with them better, I'm not going to hold it personal. It's a business decision. But if you're going to choose to stick with me, I ask that you put your 100% trust in my process and what I'm teaching.
Yep.
And I think kids that do that and buy in, like Isaac, he's been with me for 5 years. Look at the growth he's had. Mm-hmm. Now imagine if we interjected 2 different coaches into that rotation. Do we think he'd be where he's at right now? No. So I think that's the biggest mistake, is just doing too much. Like sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
I love that saying for a lot of different things it can be applied to in life, but especially with the quarterback training aspect, find somebody and stick with them.
Yep. So would the answer then be the same for the biggest mistake parents make? Is it just that, or
the biggest mistake parents make is like being helicopter parents?
Yeah.
And just like being too involved.
Yeah.
Like I understand some dads, like their dream is to have a son and see him take the same steps they took, but at a certain point, they're their own person. Mm-hmm. And the most success I've seen with the kids I've coached over the 6 years I've been doing private coaching is with the kids who want to be there, mm-hmm. who are actually passionate about it.
Yep.
I've also coached kids who get dropped off because mom and dad are making them come. And let me tell you, the sessions are a lot different with those. I'm like, do you want to be here, dude?
Right.
Like, I love doing what I do for a living. Do you love being here with me? So yeah, just ask your kids what they want to do. Some kids might not want to play quarterback, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, it is the hardest position in any sport. And if you don't have the passion and you don't have the drive to do what it takes to be a great quarterback, you won't last. And you're going to burn out super fast. And it just breaks my heart to see kids in that position because parents don't know when to take their foot off the gas and let their kid get in the driver's seat and determine what they want to do.
Yeah.
You know?
It's mentally so tough from so many different aspects. I mean, just not the actual in-game stuff, but the practice side of it, the competing side of it, because most kids aren't just going to walk into a high school to a starting job, right?
No.
And I mean, there's some really talented kids around town that are competing at schools and not getting that job. And it's just, you know, it's so mentally taxing. And then to have the confidence in yourself and the desire to keep pushing forward. I mean, I give Isaac a lot of credit. You know, could have gone somewhere else and play. He's been behind Zane this whole time, and for good reason. Zane's a great quarterback,
Absolutely.
And he's learned a lot just being his backup for a while. But there comes a time where you need to get on the field, and he's been very mentally tough through all of that, and it has not been easy. It's been a challenge, but
I've been right there with him. So
yeah, but I mean, I think that's something too that a lot of people can't appreciate. It's one of, you know, our society now is very much of immediate gratification, right? And, you know, especially at a school like Trinity, it's not the norm, right? Like, not a lot of kids get to start as a sophomore, which is pretty impressive, like you, right?
Yeah, and I felt super grateful and lucky to be there. And I remember how nervous I was to be a sophomore and leading the team. And, you know, I wasn't very vocal that year, but I led through my gameplay and how I practiced and how I showed up for my teammates and the way I was allowing the coaches to coach me and you know, correct me when I was doing things the wrong way. And I think, you know, going back to your last question, because I feel like I had two answers for that, but the other biggest mistake I see parents making is things aren't going good right now, and they make a rash decision, pull their kid out of the school and go to a new school. Well, I'm all for getting your kid the best opportunities to play if their goal is to play in college. I 100% understand and can see that. The thing that they're going to be missing when you make a decision like that is building that mental toughness, fighting through the adversity like Isaac has, and to see the young man he's become because he's been in this scenario and the lessons he's learning and the way it's preparing him for life down the road.
Something that extends far beyond football.
Yeah, and I think maybe, you know, if your son or daughter, because now flag football is a big thing, you know, and for girls, and like if your son or daughter's not playing right away, that doesn't mean they're never going to play, and it doesn't mean that if they transfer, they're guaranteed to play wherever they're going now to the next school. So, you know, I think the current landscape of college NIL and all these transfers, and it's just a wild, wild west out there for college sports. It's having a trickle down effect on high school athletes. We're seeing that even in Kentucky right now, and I think it's more important to keep a kid in a situation where they have to work through some things. Yeah. Because that's preparing them for life down the road in ways that just pulling them out every time they hit a roadblock, that's not teaching them, you know, good lessons for the rest of life.
Well, and especially if they want to play in college, because, I mean, that's what it's going to, I mean, that's what college is going to be.
There's 4 or 5 guys there on scholarship already.
Right.
And you walk in the room and they're going, oh, you're coming to take my job?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And those dudes were probably the best quarterback in their city. Absolutely. You know what I mean?
You don't end up I don't care. We talk about D1 because that's the standard, but you don't make it to college, period, if you can't play ball.
No.
And it doesn't matter if it's D3 or D1 or anywhere in between. When
you're a
you
dude.
Go there, you're competing.
Yep.
And if you were taught the lesson in high school that the second I face a challenge on the depth chart, I should leave and go somewhere where I'll play right away.
Yep.
It's not going to work in college. I mean, but I saw a stat, something like 70-something% of D2 and D3 football players that entered the transfer portal last year retired because they did not get picked up like they were hoping they would. So, you know, you can transfer, but that doesn't guarantee anything either. So if it's me, I'm keeping my son where he's at if I truly believe in the coach's ability to develop him over the course of 4 years in high school. versus sending him to a brand new school and making him start all the way over as a sophomore or junior.
And I mean, that's a good point, the development side of it, because I mean, again, we've personally been in a situation like that. And it's like, you know, what is best for a kid's development? And again, that's so case by case, and parents have to take that each at their own merit. And it's like, I mean, maybe, you know, like I can only speak to our situation. And up till this point, he's at the right spot for his development. He has the right training with you. And then the school situation he's in, he's learning a ton, and for his development, he's been in the right place up to this point. But there does come a time where it's like, you know, is it the right place? And again, that's something you have to have the right people in your corner and advising you, and you have to be in the right state of mind, because if you're not in the right frame of mind, and again, you want that immediate gratification and you can't fight through the adversity, well, then what are you really teaching them? You know what I mean? And what are you really learning? I personally don't think that's preparing you for life. However, if it's truly where this is a better situation, then I get it by all means. So, and that's something, again, just can speak from my own personal situation. That's something we've had to evaluate multiple times a year.
It's not an easy conversation.
No, not at all.
The amount of clients I've, you know, asked for my advice or opinion on those matters over the years, and I certainly don't try to sway anybody one way or another. I just present them factual information and let them as a family decide what they're going to do.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, you have to honestly ask yourself, is my son going to do better at a place like St. X or Trinity because he wants to be developed, he wants a good education, he wants a good social network for the rest of his life, as you know, when he graduates high school and college? Or do I want to send him to maybe a less prestigious program in town where I know he can get playing time right away? Maybe the education's not as sharp, or maybe it is, and it's just a simple decision of, do we want playing time right away, or do we want development and competition? I mean, it's a tough call. I don't have kids of my own yet, but when I do, if I have kids that are athletes, you know, that's going to be something that I'm going to have to give serious thought to as well. So it's not, I'm not sitting here trying to say that's an easy, like, oh, it's a no-brainer.
For sure.
There's a lot of things to consider.
Well, and like you were talking earlier, the landscape's just changed so much where, you know, even back in your day, and certainly way back in mine, you know, you'd have kids at a Louisville school, for instance, that would be highly talented, but maybe not that 4-star, 5-star quarterback that would get to go to a big school like a Louisville, a UK, and develop. And that just, with the NIL that's thrown around, that doesn't happen anymore, right? Like, you have to be one of the top kids to be recruitable at a place like that. And then also, what we're finding out is you have to have varsity film. You know, they don't care about your JV film. They don't care how good you look at camps. You know, until you prove it on the field, that you're not
I think
recruitable.
Isaac's probably dealt with this, and I know, like, another one of my clients, Brody Pfeiffer, he's at North Oldham. This is his third school he's been at, and he's a great big kid, awesome kid, smart, very good quarterback, wants to play at the next level. Excuse me. And the coaches have all said, "Hey, man, you look great throwing at camp. You look great." They've even come to school and watched him throw. But guess what they're all telling him? We need to see the varsity film.
Yep.
So, yeah, film, like having playing experience on film, that's what coaches want to see. Unfortunately, they don't care about freshman film. They don't care about JV film. They want to see the real stuff on Friday nights. So, yeah, and that's what makes that decision-making process of where do we send my son for the next 4 years difficult at times.
We've been watching Brody since he was in the 8th grade. When Isaac's year behind him, obviously, and I remember we scrimmaged them Isaac's 7th grade year when he was a brand new quarterback, and they had one of the best middle school teams. I mean, they were insane, insanely good. And I remember going to that scrimmage and watching Brody and being like, who is this kid? Like, this kid can sling it. I mean, as an 8th grader, big, tall, strong arm, on time, on target. I mean, every single rep, even in warm-ups, was just perfect. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I mean, that's what Isaac, I mean, if Isaac wants to be a quarterback, that's the kid he needs to become. And I don't remember what their scores were that season, but I don't think a team was within like 3 or 4 touchdowns of them. I mean, they were unbelievable.
Yeah, they were rolling everybody. So
yeah. So another question, what do people misunderstand about quarterback development? What's one thing you'd like to talk about there?
Everybody's so fixated on arm strength.
Yep.
And, like, to me, when I played at Trinity, we stated my accolades earlier.
Yeah.
I could maybe throw the ball 55 yards in the air. during that time. I mean, I wasn't some big, strong arm guy that was going to throw 70 yards downfield. And I think parents get so fixated, especially at such an early age. They're worried about their 8 or 9-year-old and how far they can throw.
Yeah.
That is the least of my worries as a quarterback coach, is how far a kid can throw.
Yeah.
I want to know, what is his stance like? Does he have good throwing fundamentals? Is he accurate? Can he throw on time? What's his decision-making like?
Mm-hmm.
Is he a good leader? Those are the things that I'm looking for in a kid. I don't care if they're 8 years old or they're in high school. Those are the things that make a great quarterback on Friday and Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you need a strong arm? Yeah, you can't be throwing lollipops at 10 yards and expect to play quarterback. But it's just, that's not the most important thing. And I think a lot of people misconstrue that and think, my son has a strong arm, he's a great pitcher, he's going to be a good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily the case.
Doesn't always translate.
I've coached kids that can freaking launch the ball, and they don't have the aforementioned abilities and skills. Yeah. So to me, I would take a kid that has decent throwing arm potential, but has all the other intangibles to go along with it. A strong arm by itself, not going to make you a good quarterback. A weak arm by itself won't make you a bad quarterback. It's, what is the whole scope looking like as a player? So
yeah. Do you think some of that goes with social media? You think social media is helping or hurting there? Yeah.
Social media is like just killing the game, not in a good way. Like, it's killing the game in a bad way. It's just, you log on TikTok or Instagram, you see all these flashy, cool looking drills, and you think, oh, that trainer's got it going on. Look at this drill. Look at all the cuts and the drop back, and he's doing a jump throw like I don't know if you've ever seen where.
Oh yeah.
Now I think I get why quarterback coaches do like the jump throw drills. It's fun.
Yeah.
Gets the kids engaged, gets outside the norm of their normal training philosophy. I get all that. But you see something like that and you go, I want my son training with that guy.
Yeah.
Why? Because it looks cool. Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, no, my son just thought it looked fun. Okay. Sometimes quarterback development's not very fun.
Yeah.
Like I just mentioned earlier about, the summer practices at North Oldham, our head coach, Brock Roberts, he says all the time to the kids, I know this is boring. I know it's not fun, but you got to pay your dues so you can get your paycheck on Friday nights coming up.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing with quarterback training. Sometimes less is more. Like the flashier the drills, I'd be more weary of what's actually being taught.
Yeah.
What's actually being developed through the flashy, cool looking drills. And, anybody can go to a park or a field and set up cones and say, hey, I saw this drill on TikTok. Let's do this drill because it looks like it's going to work. I could do that. But what I do is I'm looking at kids and assessing them and saying, what drills can I give this kid that are going to instantly correct and start to build the things we need to fix and improve upon as a thrower and as a quarterback.
Yep.
So yeah, social media, like I certainly have upped my social media game a little bit recently, but and like Coach Dave keeps saying, Coach Dave over at Mercy with the Mercy girls flag football team, he's the head coach. He hired me as a quarterback coach there, and I'm absolutely loving girls flag football over there. It's the best program in the state. If you have a girl flag football player, consider sending her there. No better place for development right now in the state. But, Dave's like, man, I love the content, coach. I love the content.
That's all about the content.
He's all about the content. He's like the mecca of like girls flag football content as far as I'm concerned right now. So to get that compliment from him, I'm like, all right, I'm on the right track with social media. But I try not to pay much attention to it. And like, I have a tripod and like I've bought all these tools and I never use them because when I'm out at the field, I'm so locked in on the training and development that the taking the video and stuff, that's secondary,
Yep. And some of that too, like goes back, talking about confidence and all of that. I mean, every kid's got a highlight package, right? And if, comparing yourself to another kid, I mean, any kid can look good in the highlight. It's like, well, what's the substance there? What really do they have? Seeing them in person, how do they handle the huddle? How do they handle themselves on the sideline?
Yeah.
What is their decision making like? How athletic are they? Can they get out of a pocket? Can they throw off a run?
Well, and that's why coaches at the next level want to see their varsity film. You send a coach a highlight tape, they're going to be like, I don't want to watch this.
Everybody's got a highlight tape.
I want to see the good, bad, and ugly. They want to see how you respond and deal with the ugly parts of the game. Like me personally as a trainer, do you think when I post videos on Instagram, I'm posting any of the bad, ugly reps?
Right.
Would that look good for my branding and marketing? No. But I can promise everybody watching this that whenever you're having an hour session with me, there's good, bad, and ugly reps.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
only going to put the good ones on social media. And that's the whole problem with social media is you're not getting the full scope of what's really going on behind the scenes with the bad reps, the ugly reps. How are they being coached through those? So I can post videos all day long of my drills and Isaac rolling out and throwing that ball on the run to the right sideline, and it makes it look great. But like, I want people to understand that there's also moments where we're really having to deconstruct and break them down and build them back up to have better reps too. So it's not all glamorous, and it's certainly not perfect out there.
So another good little segue. What role should parents play between lessons?
Parents should, and this is just in my experience, parents should be hands-on to the point where they say, hey, coach, what do you want us working on at home this week? Outside of that, your son has to be the one that wants to come train with me.
Yep.
He needs to be the one saying, hey, mom, hey, dad, when am I training again with Coach Travis? When are we scheduling this? If he's old enough to get a ride scheduled or drive himself, he needs to figure that out. Like, to me, the parents just need to get them to practice and pick them up from practice and ask what they need to do to bridge the time in between training sessions.
Yep.
The best clients I have are parents that actually reinforce and make sure their children are doing the drills at home that I'm asking them to do for homework. And that's as simple as that.
Let's talk a little bit just about Align, your company in and of itself. So talk to me about Align. What does Align stand for? How'd you come up with that name?
It's not an acronym or anything. It's just in life, if you want anything to work out in your favor, you have to get aligned with the person you're wanting to become and the life you're working for. You have to get in alignment with those things. So, like with the kids I coach, as a quarterback, I'm saying, okay, you come to me on day one, you want to be this better, higher version of yourself as a quarterback and young man. Well, we have to work backwards from there and determine what's going to get you in alignment with that version of yourself. A lot of times it's on the field habits, off the field habits, mindset, emotional regulation and maturity, all of these things that go into one big basket. And I feel like I named my company Align Athletics because I'm helping kids align their habits and actions and mindset with who they say they want to become ultimately.
Yeah,
so
love that, man. So let's tell people a little bit about what you can do for their athletes. So obviously you do private quarterback lessons. Talk a little bit more about that and what else
so
you
I'm
do.
mainly a private one-on-one quarterback coach. That's where I see the most success with my clients, and that's my niche. I do small groups. Like, there's been such a high demand recently that I am offering limited spots. Like, once a week, I'm doing a middle school and high school group for boys, a youth group for boys, and then the same thing for girls. So my main niche is one-on-one training. I'm opening up a little bit of group training here in the near future just to see how that goes, but mainly a one-on-one trainer. Outside of quarterbacks, I work with all athletes on like speed and agility training. I mainly work with a lot of receivers and offensive, skill position players in football and other sports that need the speed and agility training. And then I also do like quarterback small group stuff with receivers where we're working on routes on air and route timing. So, not only is it a one-on-one session, but you could bring some receivers out. And if they're just coming to catch, they're just there to help. But like, if those receivers want personalized instruction and coaching while they're there, then I would treat them as another client joining the session too.
Well, I'll say that too, that, the receivers get good work in your private lessons. I mean, the receivers Isaac brought, they are working their tails off and they're running real routes and they're doing live drills. And it's for any receivers out there that are looking for work, get with Travis. You've got plenty of quarterbacks that don't always have a lot of receivers, and the more the merrier.
Yeah, if any receivers are out there listening to this, like, I need more receivers. Because like, my quarterbacks are always like, oh man, I could only think of one or two guys, and sometimes they can come, sometimes they can't.
Yeah,
I need receivers. I would love to train receivers, but if you just simply want to come out and run routes and catch and get better at your craft, I'm open to that. Being with my experience as a college football player, playing at Trinity High School as a player, coaching at Trinity High School, coaching at North Oldham, coaching at Mercy, I try to structure all my training sessions, whether they're private or group, to where everything translates directly to the game field. So receivers and quarterbacks come out, we're not doing cool looking drills, we're running routes.
Yep.
I think it was Devontae Adams a couple years ago that said, for all young receivers out there listening, don't do all the flashy drills you see on TikTok. go run routes full speed if you want to become a better route runner. Best advice I've ever heard from an NFL role model for kids. And, that's how I structure a lot of those sessions. And I love when we collaborate with receivers because we get a real feel of what the game's going to be like. So,
yep. Has coaching quarterbacks changed the way you view leadership? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Absolutely, man. Like, I used to think being a leader was just like being vocal and how you verbalized everything, which it certainly can be. But, especially the last few recent years when things have really started to take off for me in my coaching business, I think the biggest shift in terms of how I see leadership is how I'm showing up for the kids, how I'm showing up for the parents, how I'm showing up for the coaches I work with, and, putting my best foot forward every day so that I can give those kids the best hour when I'm with them. And, there's some days I have 5 or 6 sessions back to back to back with no break. And I love it that way.
Yeah.
But
out in the heat.
Out in the heat. Yeah. Out in the heat. I'm getting nice and acclimated. But, I have to make sure I'm ready to give them my best effort for all 6 hours. I don't like when I don't want to fall off.
Yep.
I don't want session 1 to be drastically different from session 6. So whatever I have to do, getting good sleep, hydrating, eating the right food, doing all those things so I can give them my best helps me be a better leader for them. But when they don't want to show up or they're tired because they've been doing summer practice all week and now they're coming out to throw on a Friday or Saturday with me, they might not want to be there physically. They know why they're there to get better. But if they can look to me and see, okay, Coach Travis is out in the heat 6 hours a day.
Yeah.
And he's doing this every day. Surely I can give him an hour.
Right.
And, we've had those conversations before when guys are just kind of, none of the kids I coach are bad kids or lazy, but sometimes they're going through the motions first 10 minutes. And I say, hey, man, what'd you do today? Oh, nothing. We didn't have practice today. So that's cool. I've been out here 5 hours. So let's go. Yeah. Right. If I'm out here,
I'm grinding. Come on, buddy.
Let's do this together.
Yeah.
So I try to just walk the walk and not just talk the talk. And like anything I'm asking the kids to do, I want to be physically or mentally ready to lead by example that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, you juggle a lot, right? Like between on-field coaching and then doing your personal private training, and then also mental work, film work with those quarterbacks. If you can crystal ball it for me, where do you see yourself in the line in the next 5 to 10 years, and what excites you most about the future?
In 5 to 10 years, I see myself being like a nationally recognized quarterback coach where kids from all over the country, from youth to college, are either wanting to come in and train with me or do virtual training, or me even fly out somewhere across country to go train kids. Like, that's where I see myself. I know the value I bring to clients already here in the region, in the Midwest region. I'm trying to expand that across the country and impact as many football players and quarterbacks and families as I can. I love building connections and building relationships through football. Football's done so much for me in my personal life, but just like the connections and relationships I've built along the way through the game of football, the life lessons I've learned through the game of football. It's such a great vehicle that, I envision myself doing this till the day I can't anymore. And, eventually I want coaches working under me, which I feel like I'm on the right track, but I'm so hands-on that I've never considered hiring somebody. I'm like, no, this is all me. I got this. I know my standard. I want to keep it there. But, eventually I'd like to, maybe some of my kids I coach go to college, or maybe a couple are lucky to go to the NFL someday. Who knows? I'd like to get a little umbrella of coaches under me going and just make the biggest impact I can, man, and share my skills and share my philosophy with as many quarterbacks as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've certainly had an impact here locally, and obviously, with Brody and with Isaac. I mean, I know Isaac wouldn't be where he is without you, and obviously, I'm biased because he's my kid. But I mean, I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the state. I mean, I think he hadn't quite gotten the chance to show it on the varsity level yet, but he will. His time will come.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we're about out of time, but I did want to kind of leave with one other question. So if you had 1 hour with every young quarterback in America and they could remember one thing you told them, what would that message be?
I'd probably tell them to just make sure their heart's in it before they're going to commit to this journey of being a quarterback. And, they all say they want to play in college and play in the NFL. I certainly did. I've walked that path. I didn't make it to the NFL, but I made it to a Division I college level. It's not easy. It's not pretty sometimes. It's a constant grind. There's going to be days you feel like quitting.
Yep.
There were days in summer camp at FIU when I was like literally watching teammates that came in as a freshman with me, calling their parents going, come pick me up. I don't want to be here anymore. And they had full ride scholarships, just leaving it on the table because it was that hard of a grind at the next level. And it feels like a job. And while I'm not trying to discourage kids from playing in college, if that's your dream, just understand that you have to have so much heart and dedication to your craft to get to that level. And then when you get to that level as a freshman, unless you're some 5-star phenom that's going to start right away, you're at the bottom of the depth chart. I don't care what you did in high school, middle school. No college coaches care either. Once you get there, you're part of their team. You're at the bottom. Earn your way up. And if you don't, you stay there. And that's why a lot of guys quit, because the work involved. And I mean, you're taking 12 to 15 credit hours a day in a semester in college, sometimes practicing twice a day. When are you don't have time for a job. Now they don't need a job, obviously, but you know, everything, studying, going to study hall, getting ready for tests, going to class, going to football. You get a slight injury, you got to go to treatment. I mean, all these things that they don't consider when they're a young kid and they're wide-eyed thinking about, man, I just want to go to the NFL someday. It's like, dude, make sure your heart and your passion is in this thing before you commit to this journey, because if it is, you'll last. But if it's not, you know, I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's going to be a lot harder on you. So just make sure you're bought into it. And that's outside of quarterbacks too. Like, any kid listening to this, like, if you want to do anything in life, if your heart is not in it, you're not going to be nearly as successful as something that you know you get excited about, you're passionate about when you wake up every morning. And I'm very fortunate and blessed and grateful to say that I wake up every day and I absolutely am in love with what I do for a living. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And that's how I know I'm supposed to be where I'm at. And I think God's put me on this track to make an impact on kids through this avenue that is football. And, you know, I want every kid that hears that message to think, what is my personal vehicle to feeling that way in life? So,
well, I certainly appreciate you being here, and then obviously everything you've done and continue to do with Isaac, and you know, appreciate how you've let us as parents be a part of it and have a strong relationship where, you know, if we're struggling with something, we can come to you about it and talk to you about it. And, you know, you're just such an advocate for all the kids that you teach. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that.
For sure.
And I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity, because, I mean, when we met when Isaac was a 7th grader, you guys didn't know anything about me. You're just taking a chance on me. And now here we are, his junior year of high school. And it's been a cool journey. And I'm very, very appreciative of you and Rosie for entrusting me with Isaac and, you know, making the investment over the years, because it's not for everybody. But you guys have certainly made it work for your family, and you know, I'm just as grateful for you guys as well. So
I appreciate that. So obviously we're going to put all this out on social and give some contact information. But real quick before we go, what's the best way to contact you?
Best way to contact me is on Instagram. It's Align Athletics _. And I have a website link in my bio there where you can read more about me and my company. You can read more about the services I offer. I even offer like coaches consultations. I'll go to practices and work for coaches and work with their whole quarterback groups. I'm very open-minded to collaborating with coaching staffs as well. So you can contact me on Instagram. The website's in the bio, and you can book sessions right there too.
Well, man, this was great. You know, I appreciate you being here, and hopefully we have you on in the future.
Thanks for having me. I'd love to be back, man.
No problem, man. Thank you.
Thank you.